The views and opinions expressed on Real Talk with Horace Sheffield are not those of WADL TV 38 or Adele Broadcasting Corporation.
Giving you real talk, real talk, real talk. Take a walk down this path through Detroit, This is real talk, real talk, real talk. Real issues straight from the heart, Giving you real talk, real talk, real talk. Take a walk down this path through Detroit, This is real talk, real talk, real talk. 2-1. Well, welcome to another edition of Real Talk. This is on the verge or the eve, really 2 days away, of a major election all over the country, determine Democrats, Republican running this government. And of course, the same is true on a local level. We're joined now by Judge Greg Mattis, a product of Detroit, known all over the world. And I might say, at one time, a staffer here under my dad at the Detroit Association of Black Organizations. Welcome to the show, Judge Mattis.
Thanks for having me. And let me say, I've enjoyed your friendship for decades. And folks should know that we were closest of friends until I went into the judgeship and later to television. And I still appreciate all your support at Dabo, and glad that we've been able to work together at the Mattis Community Center. Let me tell folks about the relationship with your dad. I learned so much from your dad in 1 year that I learned 10 years after going into politics. You know, I started my career, quite frankly, working part-time at Dabo under the tutelage of your father. And he taught me grassroots politics. He and then later Annette Rainwater and Clyde Cleveland. Mm-hmm. And so I really attribute much of my success to your father and his tutelage.
Yeah. So just so you know, I had a dream last night. I got up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and my dad told me to tell you hello and to tell you that whatever used to be between us need to be all over again. So we need to reconnect. That's all. God is good, man. At this stage in life, you know, there are people you've known, people you've worked with, and there was a reason why it worked before, and you need to get back to that. So look, you are committing your time and talent to urging people to vote. Why is it so important in this election?
Well, the stakes are always so high. One of the things that we've achieved with our vote is what we believe to be the highest body in the land, the United States Supreme Court. We were able to elect a president who kept his word with us regarding selecting a Black woman to the United States Supreme Court. We have a Senate that is up for grabs. And although that isn't part of the Michigan vote, it is indeed part of the reason we should get out to vote nationally, because the same stakes are affecting us locally. And so in that regard, we must vote for our local, state and local officials, being the governor, the state attorney general, the secretary of state, and all those other bodies, the judges in particular, whom we certainly want to make sure we have the right ones in if we really want criminal justice reform. And so those are the things that are at stake. And I always say, Horace, you can go one way or the other to affect the system. You can affect it from the outside or the inside, but some way or the other, you got to be in the game. Yeah. Because if you're not in the game, then don't complain. Right. And I try and work in the inside to put the pressure on those who are in elected office to be accountable to the commitments they've made. And so that's what I push when I'm involved. And then you got some who go and march and fight. I still march and fight as well. So in that regard, that's why it's important for us to get out, to vote our own interests. If we want public schools to be of quality, if we want community development, if we want jobs that career job training that leads to jobs, then we have to get out and express that.
Yep. Your vote is your voice. David, you have a question for Judge Mattis.
Yeah, Judge, thanks again for joining the show today. You mentioned if you don't get on the game, you can't complain. Just speak to the attitude that some of us have, generally speaking, about our vote not counting, and then they don't even have another course or course of action for finding resolution within our community. It's just voting is just out. I'm just not going to do that, and they're just going to stay home, but don't offer anything else.
Yeah, and I think that's a weak position to take. Yes, you know, I'm gonna be real with it.
100.
you know, we talk about being strong from Detroit. We are strong Detroiters. To go through what Detroit has gone through in decades, it strengthens us, and we are regarded around the nation as a town of strong, heavy lifters who don't mind getting in the trenches and fighting for what we want, whether it's in the unions with the automakers, as we know, Mr. Sheffield did for us, being one of the first and greatest Black labor leaders in the country, or whether it's other ways that you fight through civil rights organizations, etc. But we've shown a history of fighting and a history of success. We haven't gotten everything that we've asked for, but we wouldn't get anything if we weren't in the game. Yes, and so that's why it's important. And so we can't be weak and strong at the same time. That's the point I'm getting to. It's physiologically impossible, defies physics. And so we can't say we're strong Detroiters, but get weak and discouraged when the opposition tells us that we're losing, when the opposition tries to keep us, suppress our vote, so that they can control our communities. Because those who control the vote and control the resources, they control our communities. And so if you can't be strong and weak at the same time, control your own community by voting for those who represent your interests.
Yeah, and we're going to take a quick break because I'm going to spend about a minute and a half letting you hear something from my dad's archives, now part of the Walter Reuther Library, where he was in Selma, you know, with Dr. King, and they were registering people to vote. It's a conversation between a college person in college and an older guy, and you hear what he says about what happens if they actually get the right to vote, what they're going to use it for. For those who say that it doesn't yield any power, listen to what this guy has to say, and then we'll come back and have Gerald with a question and a comment from Judge Mattis right after this.
Voting mattered in Selma, and it should matter in Detroit.
Voting is really key. I mean, it's a measure of whether you're the way I figure, and we can vote. See the street right there? And we, the Negro, be able to vote. See those holes of wall there? I think if we be able to vote, we can get the city to fix up the streets where we live at. Now you go across Broad over in the white people percentage over there, you won't find a dirt street nowhere. Even the alleys they got through there. One thing about the vote, if we get registered, if we vote, then we gonna take the rest of it. We ain't gonna ask them for it. We just going on up there and get it. If we vote. What's that? You gonna run, say? I'm gonna run for city. I have 3 years in college and I can't vote, and if I can get a chance to vote, I'm gonna run for city council because I got my dues already laid up. But listen, about what percentage are there actually Negroes registered? About 360 is voted but it's voting already, and it's 15,000 that they'll vote. 15,000 eligible, only 306. But only 306 was voted, and it wasn't but 200 something. But since this last drive been on, I guess we got maybe 7 or 8 or more. You mean with all the effort that's been made, you haven't been able to get through more than that. That's all.
Voting mattered in Selma, and it should matter in Detroit.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri, encouraging all taxpayers to please take advantage of the several payment options available.
You can pay online by visiting the Wayne County Treasurer's Office website. Paying online is easy and convenient.
You can also download the mobile app and pay with your smartphone.
You can pay at one of 70 kiosks located throughout Wayne County.
And yes, you can always still send in your payments using the U.S. Postal Service.
If you have to visit our office in person, you must make an appointment by going to treasurer.waynecounty.com. It only takes a few minutes. Facial covering or mask is required and social distancing is observed. Your health and safety is very important to us. You can also email our office at taxinfo@waynecounty.com or call us at 313-224-5990.
Well, welcome back, Judge Mattis. Everybody on this phone is elated to have one of our native sons whose radiance shines across the nation, whose brilliance is well noted, who also has a sense of humor, by the way. I watch that clip all the time when you say, he just mad at me because I won't give him no money, you know.
About you, that's right.
We just heard this clip, from my dad who saved absolutely everything at the Selma March. What's your reaction to that when the guy said, look, I figure if we get the right to vote, we'll just take the rest.
That's right. And he was telling the right person, because your dad shared that sentiment, no doubt, based on all the talks that he gave me. And that's the strength I'm talking about. That's just strength that we have to exhibit today. That was the 60s. We won. We won the Civil Rights Act. We won the Voting Rights Act. And it was because of that. And then subsequent to that, 50 years later, we had the first Black president. We took over the country. He's right. If we get to vote, the right to vote, we'll take over. We'll take it. And that's what we did. That's what we did. We took the vote and elected a Black president. But you take a loss or two, somebody doesn't do exactly what you expected them to do because you put too much trust in them, and now you're discouraged, and now you want to punk out and stay home. And let it go to those who are willing to fight for their resources.
Gerald Smith, our award-winning journalist from American Black Journal.
Thank you so much. Judge, listen, this is really disturbing to me with respect to a leader of the Democratic Party, a Black leader, I should say, in the Democratic Party, that states that brothers are not voting. They don't have to, he says that they don't see anything to vote for them or anything that affects them. Reproductive freedom doesn't resonate as much as economic freedom. What are we dealing with here? And I see the same thing happening down with Stacey Abrams in Georgia with respect to Black men not getting out to vote. What's your comment about that?
Well, I think that first of all, they are misinformed and misguided regarding the representation of, I'll just make it plain, of this super macho, business-driven former president that tricked many of our brothers. He let a few brothers out of prison, which Obama let thousands more out in his criminal reform bill. And they suddenly, Trump was their leader. Many who came before me and on national television praised Trump because they got out of jail. So I think they're misguided, misinformed. I've been challenging them. I've challenged Snoop just last month. He endorsed and did an ad for the white corporate businessman who was a supporter of Trump and only became a Democrat last year over Congressperson Karen Bass, who's running for Los Angeles mayor against this guy. This guy is $1 billion developer who has never developed one piece of affordable housing. So they're being tricked. As Malcolm would say, they're being bamboozled to believe that this super macho economic business-driven agenda is something that they should go toward. And then some of it, quite frankly, is just straight up sexism. I'm going to just tell you, because I have brothers who've told me, we don't know if they're ready for a woman. And that's ignorance. That's misinformed. Many other things. And I think lastly, we're letting our community down by not supporting our sisters. We've turned over the leadership to our sisters, and that's great because we haven't been doing our part, in my opinion. So if they're leading our way, then we must support them. And I think that those are the things that we're seeing with regard to the decline of Black men coming out to vote. They have lost the Democratic Party, and in the gubernatorial race where Stacey Abrams is slightly behind the incumbent governor, they show that she has lost the support of Black men since the last time. She has lost some of the support she had. And I think it's because of these mixed messages that Black men are getting. Well, what do you mean we're not hearing anything for ourselves? Are you hearing something for women? They believe they're hearing something, and they're the ones heading our households, and majority of them. The majority of our households are headed by the Black women. And here we are sitting back, letting them do all the work while we watch ESPN, while we play video games, while we do everything other than support families. Even if you're not in the household, you need to vote even more than anybody, because that sister that's raising your kids, she needs help, and she needs it from the government and from public policy that will benefit her and your kids that she's raising.
So, you know, everything to me boils down to displacement. My grandfather lived to be 90 and always talked about what happened when work disappeared. And in his lifetime, Blacks always became the target when whites perceived that their place in the job market was being diminished because of Black presence. It's the same thing with Make America Great Again. It's really Make America White Again. And white men are willing to sacrifice white women even because they perceive their place in this government and this country as being displaced, or they're being displaced. That's what the abortion issue is. But let's get to the heart of why I think then the vote is so important, because at the end of the day, Judge, the only thing we have that makes us equal, and that's why they're so vociferous and so, I mean, almost toxic about eliminating access to voting, is because that's the only thing we really have that puts us on par. And there's enough good people, brown people, Black people, gay people, displaced people, poor people, that if we just came together, they could never win.
That's correct.
What do we do then? We just make sure that if they vote, we don't count them, or we suppress their vote so that they'll stay away. Now showing up with weapons at polling places.
In Arizona, certainly are. They're rehearsing right now what they're going to do at those polling places, armed with AR-15s. They're trying to suppress the vote. And that's, once again, folks, you all gonna let them just take the electoral process from us? You're gonna let them just take over illegally, dismantle your elections, intimidate you at the ballot box?
Yeah.
Is that who we are now?
Right.
We gonna get scared? We let them run us away?
Right.
And we sit back and just let it happen?
Yeah.
Judge, you said I'm from Exit 9. I'm from Exit 9.
David, hold on. I got to take a break. We got one last segment with him. And I like that diatribe, because we ain't going to let nobody, piss on our sidewalk who we live next door to, but they can come in and take anything they want from us. And we say, yes, sir. Have a good day. Enjoy your stay. Be right back after this.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri, encouraging all taxpayers to please take advantage of the several payment options available.
You can pay online by visiting the Wayne County Treasurer's Office website. Paying online is easy and convenient.
You can also download the mobile app and pay with your smartphone.
You can pay at one of 70 kiosks located throughout Wayne County.
And yes, you can always still send in your payments using the U.S. Postal Service.
If you have to visit our office in person, you must make an appointment by going to treasurer.waynecounty.com. It only takes a few minutes. Facial covering or mask is required and social distancing is observed. Your health and safety is very important to us. You can also email our office at textinfo@waynecounty.com or call us at 313-224-5990.
The word trail is odd. It means following behind. But when you get on a trail, you're moving ahead. Ahead of your worries, ahead of life's dramas, ahead of noise and fuss and distraction. Good trails show you the way. The best trails show you our way. Your Huron-Clinton Metro Parks, where we've got 250 miles of trails just waiting to be discovered. They're your Metro Parks. Come out and see what you find.
I'm Wayne County Treasurer Eric Sabri, encouraging all taxpayers to please take advantage of the several payment options available. If you have to visit our office in person, you must make an appointment by going to treasurer.waynecounty.com. It only takes a few minutes. Facial covering or mask is required and social distancing is observed. You can also email our office at textinfo@waynecounty.com or call us at 313-224-5990.
Was our last segment. We've enjoyed our time. We got to do this again. So glad to have Judge Mattis come, and we got reacquainted. We hooked up again, but more importantly, we're all in agreement that this is one of the most critical elections we've known in a long time. Dave, you have a question for Judge Mattis?
Yeah, Judge. Just prior to us going just about the whole part of it's all right that some people say they died for. I say people were killed so we could have a right to vote. Everybody in my house has to vote. The rats, the roaches, everything got to vote because of the sacrifice that was made. How do we get that and convey that to young people and these different generations? The importance. We are in such a selfish, environment and culture that they're just about whatever it is that they want to do. And I think that kind of lends itself to what Gerald raised up too about the men saying, well, they ain't talking about us. It's just selfish. It's horrible. It's demonic.
Yes. Well, I think that you hit it right on the head. This generation has become, when I say this generation, perhaps we're talking millennials and under, 45 and under, if you will, 40 and under. I think they've become a little more self-absorbed. And we can blame Zuckerberg for that. No, but really, this is an era we've come to where the whole focus is on getting praise and admiration for other people, for yourself. We're self-absorbed. And so anything outside of ourselves is hard for us to engage. That's quite frankly where we're at. But what they should know, we have to educate them. We have to let them know that the resources, because a lot of what you see on Instagram and all this stuff is aspirational. It's fake. These people don't have any of that. So we should let them know, yeah, you can get some of that. But if you engage in an active approach to fighting for resources for yourself and your family, and resources, that's really what politics boils down to, the distribution of resources. Yes. And so we have to educate them on how to get those aspirational things that they so love and that will so benefit them. And so I think that's how we have to provide the messaging to our young people, is directed directed in a way that they understand they can get all these aspirational things if they join this fight.
Yeah. Down at TULC, before we come to Gerald, I was 10 years of age, and James Farmer, another friend of my dad's, was there, and he was giving a speech on what is politics. And I remember this one jarring statement he made: politics is the most mundane art of who gets what and how much. And anyone who does not want to vote, does not want to engage in politics, let someone else decide what they don't have. Gerald?
So Judge, very simply, how do we convince our people that their vote matters, that it counts?
I think we have to connect it directly, as we've been discussing, that many Black men feel. I think we have to make that direct connection, because what we're presuming when folks say that, and I think it's a little insulting to Black men, when they say, well, Black men doesn't see anything in it for themselves, and that's the reason they're not coming out. Well, perhaps they don't see enough. And so we need to direct messaging to convince our community that that public policy is going to direct specific resources to their community. Black people, Black men in particular, are interested in career training leading to jobs, not just career training direct to jobs. They're interested in starting small businesses in their community. They're interested in abandoned houses being demolished in their community. They're interested in a quality education for their children, daycare for their children, healthcare for themselves and their children. We have to give direct messaging, not things that are unaffiliated. I'll be quite frank. It's hard to discuss climate change with our folks when on an empty stomach. A third of our people are in poverty, and they're a lot less interested in a storm than they are in eating. So quite frankly, and many don't expect to live with a crime-infested community where murder is at a historic high. How do you tell me about what's going to happen to me in climate change in 10, 20, 30 years when I'm fighting to stay alive right now based on the lack of resources or the neglect of our community? So those are the things that I think we have to make a direct connection, because what we're hearing now by the Democratic Party is a message of reproductive rights. And from a judicial standpoint, I think Roe versus Wade, the overturning was wrong. I think it was law that should have been maintained. But Then the other message is climate change. And as you just said, that message doesn't really get through to what we believe our needs are in the Black community when we're living in poverty and crime-infested communities with substandard education system. That's what we want to hear about.
Okay, so I have 4 quick questions, 2.5 minutes. You have an event at Burt's today. Tell us about it.
Yes, 8 p.m. tonight, we're going to be at Burt's for a Get Out the Vote comedy show. I'm hosting along with Mike Bonner, and we're going to have Shucky Ducky, and we're going to have the governor come out. And so we are inviting everyone to come. It's free admission, 8 p.m. Come early so you can get a seat, because we're going to have a packed house, and it's to get out to vote. And we want to raise awareness, and we're going to ask for some information so we can follow up and remind you to vote. So that's really the purpose of this, and to have a little fun.
On that show that you mentioned me that, was on our website. If you go to the first page, this move for me, you had some comments about my daughter. I told her I was doing an interview today. You want me to tell you thank you.
Yes, certainly. I was, one of the great pleasures of my career has been to see the growth of Council President Sheffield, because I held her in my arms when you and I were such close friends in our earlier part of our career when she was born, and watched her grow. And I am so proud of her and the work she's doing. Her grandfather would be so proud. That's when I see her granddad. Yeah. And I just almost cry to see where she's at. And I will support her in everything that she does.
So we got a minute. Take 15 seconds on Herschel Walker and then close out on the governor.
Well, I'm glad Herschel Walker is a Republican and not a Democrat. That's the best way to put that. I'm glad I don't have to be ashamed of him.
And the governor, we got 30 seconds, Judge.
Well, I worked with the governor on a couple of major issues, and that's why I'm supporting her. I support those who support our community and the constituents which I represent. We worked together on Flint. I called her for the help. She delivered. We worked together on education. I called her regarding an education bill, and she delivered. So those are the reasons I'm supporting her, because she has delivered.
Yeah. And we support her. I support her. I can't talk about these two, but certainly Reverend Sheffield, this is my paid program, so you can't ask for equal time or rebut it. I say vote for our current governor. God bless you, Judge. We're praying for you. Don't forget to tune in next week. Remember, never ask anybody to do for you what you're unwilling to do for yourself. See you next week.
Park, walk, shop, dine, and explore Livernois. Stop by this beautiful historic neighborhood located on Detroit.
Detroit, this is real talk, real issues straight from the heart, giving you real talk, Take a walk down this path through Detroit, this is real talk,
Hello, I'm Reverend Horace Sheffield.